Welcome to Xi Jinping Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Australia reaches wine deal with China, PM sets dates for Beijing trip. Why a wave of anti-Semitism is sweeping across China. China raids offices of WPP Unit Group M, detains executive. Sun's AI guest list risks falling short as leaders hold back. The books I helped rescue from China's repression. Australia reaches wine deal with China, PM sets dates for Beijing trip. The Sydney Morning Herald. Australia and China have reached a deal that could lead to the removal of China's tariffs on Australian wine exports. The tariffs, which were imposed in 2020 and reached up to 220%, were part of a series of trade sanctions worth $20 billion. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese confirmed the deal and announced that he will visit China next month, the first Australian leader to do so since 2016. The deal involves China conducting an expedited review of the wine tariffs, with a decision expected in 5 months. If the tariffs are not removed, Australia will resume its actions in the World Trade Organization. Why a wave of anti-Semitism is sweeping across China. Telegraph. Anti-Semitism has surged online in China since the conflict between Israel and the Gaza Strip began in October. This is being seen as a departure from China's usual foreign policy of not meddling in other countries' internal affairs, and reflects decades of support for the Palestinian cause. China has grown its presence in the Middle East in recent years through heavy investment and infrastructure projects. It has also offered aid for reconstruction in Syria and played a role in brokering the resumption of diplomatic ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia. China wants to de-escalate tensions in the Israel-Palestine conflict to ensure oil imports from the region continue undisrupted. The country imports more than 70% of the oil it uses, with most coming from Saudi Arabia and Iran. China is also keen to maintain good relations with Arab nations to counterbalance its support of Israel, particularly in the United Nations General Assembly. China raids offices of WPP Unit Group M, detains executive. Wall Street Journal. Chinese police have raided the Shanghai offices of Group M, the media investment unit of WPP, questioning local executives including Group M's chief executive in China, Patrick Su. The reason for the raid and detention is unclear, as is whether it has any links to national security issues. China has been taking a tougher stance on foreign businesses in recent years, raiding the offices of several companies and implementing strict new data rules. These moves have damaged American businesses' confidence in China and have raised concerns over the country's opaque law and business environment. Sun's AI guest list risks falling short as leaders hold back. Bloomberg. Several world leaders are set to skip the UK's AI summit next month, including US President Joe Biden, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, according to sources. With French President Emmanuel Macron and Japanese Premier Fumio Kishida yet to decide, only Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni has confirmed attendance among the G7 leaders. Although the summit will still be attended by senior officials, the lack of top state leaders undermines the event's profile. The UK aims to position itself as a leader in AI development and regulation as it forges an international approach to the technology. The books I helped rescue from China's repression. Wall Street Journal. A publisher in Hong Kong is facing the urgent task of finding a new home for thousands of books that are at risk of being destroyed due to their sensitive content. Baopu, the publisher, has been struggling to publish since the Chinese government violently suppressed protests in Hong Kong in 2019. Printers have been too afraid to touch his manuscripts, and after the passing of a draconian national security law in 2020, he had given up on publishing and was considering moving abroad. Now, warehouses where he and other publishers stored their books are demanding that they be cleared out or they will be pulped. Baopu reached out to a journalist and author, Ian Johnson, asking if he would take a shipment of the books and help find them a new home. Johnson agreed and received 380 banned books, including memoirs, political analyses, and forbidden histories. He quickly found research libraries and universities willing to take the books, but kept one set for himself. Johnson hopes that one day the books can be sent back to China, where they belong. Biden wanted to end forever wars. Now he looks like a wartime president. Wall Street Journal. President Biden's goal of ending the forever wars and focusing on domestic priorities and competition with China is being threatened by the Hamas-Israel war and his response to it. Biden has shown steadfast support for Israel, but the Israeli bombardment of Gaza has magnified a humanitarian crisis and the conflict risks spreading. Biden's planned meeting with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and other Arab leaders fell apart after an explosion at a Gaza hospital. The conflict is the second hot war Biden has dealt with after Russia's assault on Ukraine, and it risks overshadowing his domestic and economic agenda and diverting resources away from countering China. Biden's support for Israel and Ukraine faces hurdles in a divided Congress, and his low approval ratings at home have barely budged despite his backing for Israel. A wider Middle East conflict could also hurt the global economy and push up energy prices, which would further impact Biden's approval ratings. The crisis has sent the administration into a round-the-clock effort to bolster Israel, contain the conflict, and rally support at home and abroad. The administration is divided over its support for Israel, and there are concerns about the conflict spreading and inciting terrorism and attacks on Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the sixth dimension. Today, I bring you a mix of international news that spans from Australia to China, and from the UK to the Middle East. So, let's dive right in. First up, we have some good news for wine lovers. Australia and China have reached a deal that could lead to the removal of China's tariffs on Australian wine exports. This is a positive development after the tariffs were imposed in 2020, causing quite a stir in the wine industry. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will even be visiting China next month, marking the first visit by an Australian leader since 2016. Let's raise a glass to this wine deal. Now, let's shift gears to a troubling trend in China, a wave of anti-Semitism. Since the conflict between Israel and the Gaza Strip began, there has been an increase in anti-Semitic sentiment online in China. This is quite unusual for a country that usually avoids getting involved in other countries' affairs. However, China's growing presence in the Middle East and its reliance on oil imports from the region might be a driving factor behind its desire to de-escalate tensions in the Israel-Palestine conflict. It seems like China is trying to maintain a delicate balance between supporting Israel and maintaining good relations with Arab nations. In other news, Chinese police have raided the offices of Group M, the media investment unit of WPP, and detained its executive, Patrick Su. The reason for the raid is unclear, but it adds to the growing concerns over China's treatment of foreign businesses. These incidents have been damaging American businesses' confidence in China and raising questions about the country's opaque law and business environment. It's like a game of hide and seek, but with foreign businesses as the ones trying to hide. Next, we turn our attention to the UK's AI summit, which is apparently facing a guest list challenge. Several world leaders, including US President Joe Biden and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, have decided to skip the event. It seems like they're holding back, leaving Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni as the only confirmed G7 leader attending. Well, it looks like AI is not as attractive as we thought, at least to these leaders. But fear not, the summit will still be attended by senior officials, so the AI show must go on. Now, let's talk about books. A publisher in Hong Kong is facing a race against time to find a new home for thousands of books that are at risk of being destroyed due to their sensitive content. These books have faced challenges since the Chinese government cracked down on protests in Hong Kong in 2019. Now, warehouses are demanding that the books be cleared out or they will be pulped. But fear not, a journalist and author named Ian Johnson has stepped in to help. He has found research libraries and universities willing to take the books, ensuring their survival. It's like a literary rescue mission. Lastly, we have President Biden, who wanted to end the forever wars and focus on domestic priorities and competition with China. However, the recent Hamas-Israel conflict has put a dent in those plans. Biden's support for Israel, while unwavering, has drawn criticism due to the humanitarian crisis caused by the conflict. This second hot war, following Russia's assault on Ukraine, risks overshadowing Biden's domestic and economic agenda and diverting resources away from countering China. It's like trying to juggle too many balls at once, and it's not an easy task. In conclusion, today's news has given us a taste of the complexities of international relations and the challenges faced by world leaders. From wine deals to book rescues, and from AI summits to conflict crises, the world is full of surprises and hurdles. But remember, my dear audience, in the sixth dimension, we always find a way to see the humor and light in even the darkest of situations. And now, I turn to you, my observant viewers. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any questions or insights to share? The floor is yours, so go ahead and let your voices be heard. Thank you for joining me in this interdimensional news journey. Until next time, keep observing, keep questioning, and keep smiling. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.